Hi everybody, this is Harper-Nisbet. I hope you're all doing well and I hope you're doing what you can to take care of yourself. I'm spending a whole lot of time in this room. This is my studio. This is my home studio. I'm always looking for ideas for art lessons, and sometimes some things will inspire me. And whenever I look at photographic images, sometimes I think, ooh, I think I want to create that. I want to draw that. And we are going to create an image of something that I'm inspired by. I received this image or this photograph from my father-in-law. He had a lot of printouts of some photography that he created, and he asked me if I wanted them, and I said, yeah, sure, because I thought that they would be great and inspiring for art projects. His name is David Kelly, and he's a photographer here in Charlotte, and he does a lot of images of wildlife. And if you are interested in looking at his photos, and you want to see some other pictures of exotic animals that he's created, you can go there. I will post that information at the end of this video. I also have the information on my website, so if you are interested in looking at all the different animals he's taken, you can go there. He's traveled all around the world and gotten a lot of different images of a lot of different animals that are beautiful, and they might inspire some more art projects that we're going to be doing. But I saw this and I thought this guy looked so pleasing and so relaxed, and I wanted to create an image. I've already been working on the image. I did this in charcoal, and I have a video of me working on that from beginning to end, and you can see a time-lapse video of that on my lessons page if you're curious. So I'm going to teach you guys how to draw a symmetrical face. We did a drawing right before we let out for remote learning. We did a lesson having to do with symmetry. Some of my 5th grade classes did. And we talked about the symmetry of the human portrait. And at that time, we talked about the artwork of Leonardo da Vinci. And Leonardo da Vinci used math and science in order to help with his natural look or appearance of his portraits. He was just interested in science. He considered himself more of an engineer than an artist. Okay, he said, I'm an engineer, but I like to do art too. But he is respected as one of the greatest artists throughout history. I find that interesting. So if you are interested in what Leonardo da Vinci does, I have information about him on my website or on the lessons page. So we are going to think of symmetry today, and we're going to use symmetry and math. When we think of proportions and size relations of things, we are thinking of math. And also whenever we are thinking of symmetry, we are thinking of math. And what I'm doing right now is I'm drawing a line down the middle of my face, and it divides the two halves of my face. And whenever something is the same on both sides, it's considered to be symmetrical. So we are going to think about symmetry whenever we are creating our portrait of our lion today. Whenever I think of portraits of lions or drawings of lions, I am brought back to a time whenever I visited the National Art Museum in Washington, D.C., and I got to see the artwork of the artist Peter Paul Rubens, who is also a famous artist and respected for his mastery of the emotion. He's an artist from the Baroque period, and he was respected for how natural and realistic, and of course the drama that was brought into his artwork. And one of those paintings that I saw in that gallery was his painting from a Bible story, and the title of the painting was Daniel in the Lion's Den. And, you know, it was an amazing painting to look at. It's inspired me ever since, because I've seen the painting before, but I just didn't know how big it was. And that was the first time I'd ever seen it in person. And it was huge. It was like 8 foot by 9 foot. I can't show you how big by using my hands, but it was humongous. And inspiring for me as an artist, not only for the size, but his ability to create the natural movement of the lions, and he did a lot of studies and drawings before he actually painted the painting. Now the painting is huge, and he was known to have understudies working on his paintings, but still he generated the idea in the original sketch and they worked from there. So if you are interested in Peter Paul Rubens and you want to know more about Daniel and the Lion's Den, I've also posted that on my website on the lessons page. Okay. So with that being said, we are going to create our own portrait of a lion using symmetry and trying to understand guidelines and mathematical proportions in order to do that and create it. And then we're going to follow through with adding detail, and I will talk you through it. So please stay with me and we'll get started. All right, see you in a bit. Okay, we are now getting ready to draw our lion portrait using symmetry and guidelines, and we're going to think of some measurements before we get started. So in order to do that, you're probably going to need a ruler or some kind of straight edge just so you can draw some guidelines. You don't have to necessarily measure. You can kind of eyeball it, guesstimate where to place your lines, but I am going to use some measuring. I'm going to think exactly where the middle is. Okay, so I'm going to use my ruler for that reason and purpose. All right, so this paper is 8.5 in width. I have my paper positioned vertically. Okay, so I am going to think, what is half of 8.5? That would be 4 1/4. Okay, so I'm going to make a mark there. And I'm just going to drop my ruler down just a little bit, just so I can make 2 marks, because I've always been advised you measure twice just to make sure. So I'm measuring in 2 points so I can align. I'm going to line my ruler up on those 2 dots so I can have a perfect vertical line from top to bottom, and it doesn't go in a diagonal direction. So I have 2 marks there. Okay, light dots, draw them light as possible. You draw it light till you get it right. Okay, so I'm going to place this ruler right in the middle, and I'm going to line it up right along those 2 dots, and I'm going to start from the top and draw as light as I can, because guidelines are not meant to be permanent, because I'm going to erase them later, but they're just here to guide me. All right, so there is my half point, or my line of symmetry for my lion's face. All right, so I'm going to think about where my eyes need to be set. They are about half point, and this looks like, I'm just going to guesstimate, this looks about half point, but right now I can see, if I measure it, it's not quite. This paper is 11 inches in length for the vertical line. Where I'm guesstimating where the lion's eyes should be, it's a little above the half point. Okay, I'm going to place my mark about right there at 6 1/4 or 6 1/4. Okay, so it's a little above half point. This is probably more about half point, between in the middle there on the vertical line. But I'm going to go a little above that, and at that point I'm going to make sure that I have a line going perfectly across. All right, so I'm just going to make another mark at 6 1/4. Okay, and then I'm going to draw the line using those 2 marks, lining my ruler up right along. So now I'm ready to place my eyes, and I want my eyes to be maybe not right in the middle. Okay, they might be a little too wide, because we definitely want some room to put the mane in. So I'm going to drop them in a little closer. Probably if I was to look at this point, I'm going to think, if I was to divide this area up into different, like if I was to divide it up in fractions, I would probably go about 1/3 of the way over. Okay, so I'm just going to make a mark there, and that's about where I'm going to place my eyes. Now I'm going to think about how big my eyes should be, and I'm just going to draw the circle part of the eye that's inset inside all of the skin that's around and the fur that's around, but I'm just going to place a circle that's about the size of my fingernail there. Okay, and then thinking symmetrically, I'm going to place another eye over on the other side in the same position. Okay, it's better to do that rather than to draw all the detail and then have to come in and match the detail on this side. I do one step at a time on both sides, okay? I advise anyone to do that because, you know, it's just better to do that and then blend and draw all your detail all at once. All right, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to drop down and think of where to place the nose and the mouth area. I'm going to definitely have room for his chin and maybe some hair coming down below his chin. So I need to think about how far I want to drop that down. I'm also going to think about the width of his nose. If you look at my original that I practiced with, okay, this one right here, I'm thinking of the placement of his nose, his mouth, and all of the basic shapes that it's going to take to draw, and then I'm going to have to come in and add all the detail. All right, so his eyes are placed right there, and then his nose is about the same width part of his eye. So if I was to drop down a line like that, but I want my nose to come in at an angle. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw that area around the eyes, just drawing a curved line going from one side to the other. And then I'm going to think of how my nose is going to come in, starting at that part that's the bridge of the nose, okay? And then I'm going to drop it down to about a little more, about halfway between the eye, the eye line and the bottom of the paper. So I'm just going to draw a guideline like that. You don't always have to use your ruler. This is just a guesstimation, okay? And you can fix and repair anything that you need to do. If you think that the nose is too long, you can come up and bring it up just a little bit, okay? So I'm going to drop that line down, and then I'm going to draw the nose. Okay, I'm just going to kind of draw a curved line on top, and then I'm going to draw kind of like a triangular shape coming down. So the curved line on top of that, and then a triangular shape. All right, and then I'm going to draw these circular shapes coming down on each side of the nose. And if you're overlapping lines, that's fine. We're going to come in and erase things. Okay, and I'm drawing with these light sketching lines, okay, just kind of molding and shaping my shape. All right, and then I'm going to come in with a straight line, dropping down, refining the nose a little bit, and then adding the lower part, the jaw part of the mouth. Okay, and I'm not going to really draw like any straight lines. I'm just kind of sketching in some hair, some texture of the hair. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to form the outside of his face. So I'm going to come in and draw a curved line on each side of the eyes, and then I'm going to drop down a curved line connecting this area with the side of his face, kind of like where his temples are. And then I'm going to curve that down, or curve that up and around, and kind of come to a point. Then I'm going to come in and start adding some of the hair, some of the mane coming around. And I'm doing that first because his ears are going to kind of poke out from behind the texture of the hair. So I'm just placing the hair, just doing these light textural lines. As you can see here, I'm just kind of sketching everything in. I haven't drawn any kind of detail. Nothing is permanently fixed. If I feel like maybe I need to make that line or that nose just a little shorter, I need to come in and, you know, do some things up here. I don't really like that too much. I need to come in and fix this area. You can do that, okay, if you have drawn light. But if you've drawn really dark, it's going to be hard to fix anything that you need to repair. I've always heard the term, you draw it light till you get it right. Okay. All right, so I am starting to draw the detail, and I'm just gonna, this is the fun part. This is whenever I start thinking about the character, you know, is he a good lion? Is he a scary lion? Is he a happy lion? Kind of like the lion in the photo. That lion he looked like a calm, relaxed lion. Okay, I think he's the type of lion that inspires me. He looks just patient and calm. I sure wouldn't want to get out of that vehicle and get close to him, though. All right, so I'm just going to keep erasing. I'm erasing right now. I'm erasing the guidelines. I think I'm ready to start adding detail. All right, so what I would do now is to come in and start adding some detail. And I want to make I want to refine his eyes a little bit at this point. Okay, and I'm going to come in kind of like an arch over each of his eyes. And then I'm just going to curve up and draw under, kind of outlining the bottom part of the eye. So that arch is just going to angle over, and then I'm going to drop it down past or wider than the actual circle. And I'm just going to kind of shade in. All right, and then I'm going to add his pupils. And maybe do some shading on the eye. So I'm just drawing the pupil. And if you want to leave a little highlight, that's just like a little area where it looks like light is hitting inside his shiny eye. Okay. And then I might shade in like an eyebrow or some type of shadow where his brow. Lions do have a type of a brow. They have different textures to their fur. And they create shadows on the face. Okay. And then I'm just going to come in, get some eraser crumbs in the way. I'm just going to come in and draw the ears, and then I'm going to come in and continue darkening his fur. And that still goes up. It wouldn't be straight across. It kind of goes up. Like if I start with the fur, I would kind of angle up. If you need to draw a guideline for that, you can. And then I'm just going to continue adding texture to the fur a little bit. Okay, and if you want to come in and shade in a little closer to the face, I like to do shading techniques like rubbing and smudging. You can use a tissue for that. That always works because sometimes our fingers might be dirty and or greasy, and it might make the paper dirty. So it might be a good idea to use a tissue or a paper towel or a torn piece of paper. Okay. I just washed my hands. I've been in such a habit of washing my hands lately, so I don't think I have any oils on my hands. All right, so I am just going to shade where the nose is. And I'm going to finish this up in time lapse so you can continue watching the video, and it will speed up the process just a little bit more. But as you watch the finishing of it, just pay attention to how I'm adding the shading and the detail and refining and defining all the shapes. Okay, I will follow up with some kind of explanation of how I did everything. So I will see you in a minute. Okay, so I finished this lion up a little more with a little bit more detail. I've come in with some darker lines along the side of the face. I just turned my pencil a little bit. I came in with some more shading. And this lion, he kind of has a kind appearance in his face. It's kind of funny how this lion looks a little different than the lion that I drew for practice. It's kind of funny how they have just a little bit of a different appearance or different personality. I pretty much followed all the same rules and used the guidelines in the same way, but you just never know what you're gonna get. You never know how it's gonna turn out. So I do hope that you give this a try. You can try it over and over again, or you can watch the video all the way through again and then try it on your own. And then, you know, maybe watch the video twice, and then on the second try with the video, you can stop it at certain points when you need to. Do it and see how many different types of lions you can get. I would love to see what you're doing, so please remember to email me your images. All right. I hope you guys have a good day, a good rest of the week. Take care of yourselves and stay safe. Have a nice day. Bye.